Hi, I'm Lee Ffrench and you're watching Bikespeeds Bike Torque. My cycling background really starts with the fact that I tend to build my own bikes. My father built me a bike for Christmas one year. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. He started his own business and he got a little small bike frame and built me up this bike which he painted at work. And I remember that bike fondly and never really realised that it had been built for me. I just thought it was a new bike. My real passion and interest is in fixed gear riding. And I love the fixed gear bikes, I love that scene, I love the simplicity of the bikes. And at the time I was looking to build a fixed gear, my first fixed gear bike, which is still my main fixed gear bike, on the internet, a bike called a race cycle, Pathmaker. And this had a massive front chainring, 100 tooth front chainring. These Caliper handlebars, which were straight handlebars with a joint in the middle so you could drop them down for racing, bring them up for your normal riding. The style of the race cycle really appealed to me, but I've never been one for old bikes that you would feel afraid to use, so I decided to replicate the design in my own bike. So I found a 48cm small Royal Enfield bike, which I stripped down, painted. I managed to get an 80 tooth front chainring from Australia, and when that arrived, it was quite a moment, you know, and seeing this idea coming together, and built my first fixed gear bike. At that time, I bought a set of entry-level wheels and changed out the hub for a coaster brake. But once I started using the bike, I realised that that was no way of stopping a bike like this. It was very, very tricky to ride. And my son was then in the fixed gear world, and he'd got a fixed gear and was riding fixed. Started riding his bike, loved it, and that was my transition to fixed. I made my attempt to build a set of the Kelly bars, but the hinge in the centre wasn't really strong enough and the bars weren't really that rideable. They had a bit of play and movement in them. So I went to straight bars, and the fondest memory of this bike was probably 6 months to a year after I built it. I heard about the Gas Hill Gasp. It's a hill in Norwich which is tremendously steep, and they run races up it once a year. So I decided I'd take my 80 tooth and race it up this hill. When I got there, there was me and one other rider in the fixed gear category, which meant, fortunately for me, we got 2 races. Obviously there'd been a bit of interest in my 80 tooth front chainring, and people saying they'll never get that up the hill. Ah, that's right, at that time I was still riding the coaster brake on the back. Start came, went to push away, and I just got the position of my pedals wrong, and instead of pushing forwards, I managed to slip and put the brake on. But I'd already lost any momentum I had at the bottom of the hill, got less than halfway up it, came to a grinding halt. Most embarrassing, but fortunately I had the final to go. Got to the final, and there was no way on this earth I was going to put my feet down. Got about half, 3/4 of the way, brain exploding, and the cheer and the people, they willed me to the top of that hill. I remember my knees were blown for weeks afterwards where I couldn't ride. Absolutely blew myself to bits on that bike, but I did get it to the top of Gas Hill Gasp, and I should well imagine that's the biggest chainring that will ever go up that hill. There's a little M dot for the Ironman symbol on the back of the bike, which is basically the brake bridge on the back, which I left on. But the Ironman logo, it's almost like a lot of people have an Ironman tattoo at the end of an event, which I've never had, but it's just that little signification that when someone rides past me or sees the bike, they know it's an Ironman riding it. You can mix old and new components to get a very, very reliable bike. I've got Dura-Ace headset bearings, which are original old vintage style bearings. It's an old frame, steel frame, but it has modern touches, Brooks saddles, modern alloy wheels, a few of my own touches. It's a mixture of old and new, but I really wanted to build a bike that was 100% reliable. It's my absolute go-to bike if I'm chasing around town, doing shopping, going out for a ride with my son, going anywhere, I'll jump on my fixed gear bike. It is my go-to bike. I've used it for hundreds, if not thousands of miles since I built it. And although I love racing, it is still my go-to bike. So this is my Royal Enfield. Like I say, it's a 70s frame. This was originally a 14-speed drop handlebar. I suppose you'd almost term it touring bike. So starting with the frame, we decluttered the frame, took off all the lugs, fittings for pumps, ground them all off, fittings for mud guards, took off. So it's completely decluttered of any of the fittings that were originally on the frame. I took out the brace bar on the chainstays, which was a little bit risky, but the frame's been bulletproof in the time I've had it, and that's been to no detriment. But again, I like the clean look. I originally flattened off the backs of the frames for tensioners for the rear wheel, painted it black, and it's got 1 or 2 marks on it, but they tell stories. That was when I had a chain malfunction and all seized up. Wouldn't want to repaint the frame just because I've marked it. I like to use all of my bikes, and this one especially is a daily user. We move front to back. Wheel set is the no logo wheels, which you can buy quite cheap in all amount of colours and what have you. Aluminium, good bulletproof wheels, sitting on the Schwalbe tyres. Yeah, they're just a good workhorse wheel. I took off the freewheel and covered the threads with a piece of black rubber because I didn't want the shiny threads showing. I've got a Brooks C15 canvas saddle. I fancied the canvas over leather because it was just a little bit of a modern twist on the old Brooks saddle, which again, I like modern twists on old designs, and that's what this was trying to reflect. I've got Brooks canvas handlebar grips, single front aluminium brake, aluminium bars, aluminium stem. I've got an original Dura-Race headset bearings, Tetra R539 front brake caliper. It's actually got quite a depth here from the top of the forks to the crown of the forks to the brake, which is why I picked the Tetra brake. The 80-tooth front chainring, which obviously is the pièce de resistance of the design really. It's what the whole design evolves around, is that 80-tooth. Very, very, very close to the frame just here. I mean, there's literally a millimetre or two where it's on this frame. If I'd have spaced the bottom bracket out any wider, I would have then had trouble with the rear sprocket fouling the frame just here. So the tolerance on this is literally a millimetre, and probably even less than a millimetre this end. So that it's absolutely on the limits. Aluminium pedals with the rubber. We took out the reflectors and engraved Bikespeeds, which is our company name and logo, onto little plastic in the pedals, just for a little bit of detailing. We've got the Ironman logo that I mentioned earlier on, which I cut out and put on the rear brake bridge. And yeah, that's pretty much the bike as it stands today. And yeah. I've been Lee Ffrench for Bikespeeds Bike Torque. Thanks for watching. And so I made the actual item myself, and yeah, it's something I'm very proud of.
Whose was that?
Whose was that?